Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing Week 2 in the NFL preseason. We're talking right now with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. We're going to take a look at the Detroit-Washington game, which should be interesting because I think I read that RG3 claimed that he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. I don't know about that, but Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, you sometimes claim that you're the top handicapper around right now, so you know what that's all about, right?
Yeah, but I ain't bragging if you can do it, and I've been doing it for almost 30 years publicly.
That's right. If you can't do it like RG3, some people might argue can't really do it. I guess that's a good thing though when it's when you're looking at the preseason, because now here we are heading into a week 2 of the preseason. Now he's got something to prove. Now we know that at least for this game, he's probably going to want to back that up, right?
Well, RG3 says that he was taken out of context, but he's done that before. But there's no question he's had something to prove. It's not like, he had to do any trash talking. Once he said that he wants to become the best quarterback in the league, and somehow it was twisted. But yeah, there's no question that he has something to prove. And if he isn't fired up in this preseason, I don't know when he ever will be. I guess this is his second annual last chance to prove that he belongs in the NFL.
In the regular season, is he going to be, an outstanding elite quarterback? You could get an argument that maybe he will be, but I think most people would suggest not. In the preseason, though, that could be a motivation. Maybe that's reason to like Washington here at -2.5 and the over. Also, Kirk Cousins was playing well, so Washington does have quarterback depth here. I'm thinking that Washington puts up the points in this game. I'm leaning Washington -2.5 and the over 40. What's your take on, what's your sense on both those leans?
It looks like RG3 will be playing probably the first quarter, maybe slightly into the second, which, for the second game in the preseason isn't all that long. Jay Gruden himself said he's not really worried so much about the starters. He just wants them to play efficiently. He really wants to take a long look at his bench. He wants to see who's going to fill out the roster. So RG3, he's had plenty of motivation since coming back from the injury. I really don't think he's got any extra motivation here. True, the spotlight's going to be on him, but the spotlight's been on him all along. So, both of these teams do have their share of injuries. The Redskins have Jordan Reed and their 4th-round draft pick, Jamison Crowder, 2 pretty good targets who are both likely to miss this game. I'm not necessarily sold on Detroit, but I'm not really sold on the Redskins either.
Yeah, the Redskins do have a lengthy injury list, especially on defense. So when you see something like that in the preseason, do you think that maybe teams are going to not take chances and play conservatively and then maybe lean to the under when you see a team with a lot of injuries, especially on defense?
Well, Detroit actually has their share of injuries on defense. Halati Naga, who came in to replace Ndamukong Suh, he's probably going to miss this game. So Detroit's got a few injuries themselves. This is really a game I do think that teams tend to air it out a little bit more in the second game of the preseason, and they want to see what they have. But again, it is a fairly high total. I would say that the under would be a decent play at this point.
Really? You would lean towards the under? Because I would lean towards the over, because you have a RG3 who's probably going to be productive. Then Kirk Cousins, who looked very good against the Browns in Week 1. And then for Detroit, Matt Stafford will probably see some time. And then Orlovsky and Kellen Moore, not world beaters at quarterback, but probably able to put enough, to do decently against, Redskins' banged-up defense. I'm leaning over here, Joe Duffy.
No, I've never believed in that, and my research and my experience has told me look, you have these proven quarterbacks who are basically slotted. You know who the starter's going to be. You know the backup's going to be. You know who the number 3 quarterback's going to be. Mm-hmm. They just want to go in there, be a little efficient, not do any damage. There's not really much of any quarterback battles going here, and you have guys on the bench for both teams that really had their chances to be starting quarterbacks. They don't have a ton to prove. I know, some people may argue whether Kirk Cousins has really, truly had an opportunity to win the job. But no, I don't think, we have some guys who definitely have a lot of experience under the belt, but that's one of the bigger myths. People love quarterbacks in the preseason when teams have a bunch of quarterbacks with experience, but they are already slotted. They don't have all that much to prove.
Fair enough. So this sounds like it's going to be a complete pass for you, Joe Duffy, as far as the pick's concerned in our video?
That would be true, sir.
Well, I'm going to make a pick. Everything that you said, I absolutely take to heart, Joe Duffy, but I think I'm going to give an official play here on the over 40. I just think that, both teams are banged up on defense. The quarterback depth is sufficient to get things done, and you disagree with that?
I don't really have a strong lean either way. I really wouldn't argue with the over or the under. I've done my notes. None of my key indicators really came out and bit me either on the side or the total. So, if I do get there, well, I have some time before I actually will post my premium picks, and I'll definitely be checking throughout the night for some more information, but nothing screams at me so far.
Well, thanks for your thoughts, Joe Duffy. This game's going to be a pass for Joe Duffy. His website is offshoreinsiders.com, where his final picks for Week 2 NFL preseason will go. And for the purposes of our record keeping in these videos, I'm going to take a shot with the over 40. We'll see how that turns out. Thanks, Joe.